So hello and welcome to the Government Contracting is Your Business Eligible workshop. This is a partnership between Jefferson County Business Resource Center and the Colorado Procurement and Technical Assistance Office. And we actually share office space in Denver West together, but today we're sharing this Zoom call and partnering this way. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our instructor. Her name is Lorna Gunning. And Lorna, I'll let you share a bit about your background and then what your role is with PTAC now. And then I'll circle back toward the end of the workshop and give you guys updates about what Jeffco BRC is doing and what we have coming up. So with that, Lorna, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Amira, and thank you all for participating today for this conference. As Amira said, I work part-time, 2 days a week for the Colorado PTAC. My history is I worked for 33 years for the Department of the Interior in contracting, first with the National Park Service in Boston, and eventually in the Washington office as the Deputy Bureau Procurement Chief and Acting Bureau Procurement Chief, and then for BLM for 3 years, where over the course of my career, I think I've bought everything under the sun. So it's really given me a lot of experience and exposure. And I retired in 2017 and started with the PTAC a few weeks later. And I'm really just happy to be able to work with all of you and show you just a little bit about the free services that are provided to you through PTAC. And, you know, I don't want to be a talking head, so please feel free to interject any questions that you might have as we go along. I just wanted to be as interactive as possible.
Yeah, Laura, sorry, I was going to ask that. So you prefer them just to unmute themselves and then ask questions as the presentation's going?
Yes, okay, that'd be awesome. Wonderful. Thank
Perfect.
you.
And I did mute a few of you when you came in. So if you're not asking questions, please keep your audio on mute just because it cuts down on background noise. Sometimes that background noise is really loud. Not so much to you guys, but to us as the other attendees. So with that, I'll turn it back over. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Procurement Technical Assistance, was established by Congress by executive order. So it is part of it's federally authorized, and it was started in 1985. Originally, it was established to help a lot of small businesses that wanted to do business with the Department of Defense. And they were really struggling to figure out, how do I get in? How do I get to know vendors? And so they really created it. But now they've really expanded it to any federal agency or any public agency. So we help businesses, large or small, that are interested in federal, state, or local. And what's really nice is it's a nationwide program. So we're in all 50 states. There's 97 total programs across the country. Some states like Texas or California have numerous PTAC offices. So even if your company has a subsidiary office in another state, you can work with them as well. The way we get our funding is we get an awarded grant from the Department of Defense through the Defense Logistics Agency, and that's what helps fund us. And that's why all the services that we provide to you can always be for free. So the Colorado PTAC is one of the newest PTACs. We were established about 11 years ago. We're a nonprofit organization, and we work cooperatively with the ODET, the Office of Colorado, Office of Economic Development and International Trade. So we are funded by federal, state, public, and private contributions. So 50% of our funding comes from the Defense Logistics Agency, DoD. 25% of our funding comes from the state of Colorado. And then 25% of our funding comes from organizations, private individuals, and that just donate services or in kind. What's really nice about those individuals that provide that in kind, it's usually subject matter experts that are attorneys that focus on government contract law, people that focus on cost, on how to do cost analysis, people that help you put proposals. So it not only helps our funding, but it really provides you with a cadre of experts in different areas as you kind of go forward with this effort on public contracting. So we really increase the development through the state of Colorado. This is our mission. Our mission is really focused on Colorado businesses and what can we do to help them achieve any public contract at any level. So in order to do that, we bring a lot of different specialists to the table to help you. So our group is comprised of people with experience in federal, state, local, industry. We have people, our headquarters is in Colorado Springs. Our director is actually came from the private sector. So he was the recipient of government contracts. So he really brings that expertise on what it's like to compete, what it's like to win the contract, how do you manage it. In Westminster, our full-time counselor up there was a chief of procurement for the state of Colorado. So really understands the Colorado rules and regulations. I'm really worked in interior, so I understand the civilian contracting side. We have experts in Aurora that worked at DOD and in the headquarters that really worked in a lot of the DOD organizations. And in Grand Junction, one of our counselors out there worked for the Small Business Administration. So really specializes in many of the programs that the federal government includes, like the 8A program, the women-owned program, the Hub Zone. So really, we have a wonderful cadre of specialists that we bring to the table to help you. So I always say, if I don't have the answer, I know I can reach out to one of my peers and get the answer for you, and vice versa, that we share information back and forth. We have a clientele base of about 3,500, and they really reflect, just like the regular world, the type of businesses. 97% of our clients are small businesses, just like in the private world. Almost 20% are veteran-owned businesses. Hub zone. A hub zone means it's an area of high unemployment, and the federal government does set aside certain dollars for companies that are located in a hub zone, and 35% of their employees are located in a hub zone. So it's really to help areas of high unemployment out from under that. And then 1% are women-owned, and there's a program for women-owned set-aside programs at the federal arena as well. So, what do we do when you really want the specifics? So it's always no cost, and we help you through the entire procurement process. So we kind of break it down into these 4 R's. I think I always say it's just like this huge elephant, and you've got how do you eat the elephant? You just eat it one bite at a time. And so we really help you through that 4 critical steps. Step 1 is the registration. The systems that you need to register in to become eligible to compete for government contracts. And each one, federal, state, and local, have their own systems. And there's lots of not only the initial registrations, but if you're a women-owned or you're a veteran-owned, there's additional registrations as well. And we help you through that whole process. The second step is the research step. So once you're registered, where do you want to sell? Who's buying what you're selling? And so we really help you to kind of focus that effort so that you're getting the biggest bang for your effort and biggest bang on your return, so that where you're spending your time, it's most likely to be with those offices or agencies that are buying. And that we have different tools that we use. There's different software that we can help you identify that. The third one that's really important is the responding support. So you've gotten registered, you've found an agency that you want to work with or projects that you want to compete for, but now you've got a solicitation and it seems like a lot of gobbledygook. So what does this mean? What do you need to submit? How do you submit a proposal? What does it mean? Is it binding? Is it non-binding? What will be, how do I submit a successful proposal? We go with you all the way through that process to make sure that you have a responsive and responsible bid being submitted. And then when you win the award, everybody's excited they won the award, but there's a lot of things beyond performance. There is, how do I invoice? How do I get paid? How do I ensure that when I get reviewed at the end of that contract, that I get a good past performance rating, because that will influence and impact my efforts going forward, because the government, they're always going to go with people that have been successful, and we help you through that process as well, and what to always be conscious of. So, many people say, is public contracting right for my business? Is this something I should invest the time and effort in? And what we say is, what it can do for your business and what it cannot do for your business. So it can diversify your customer base. So if you're an established business, you have been in business for some time, you have good client base, you have good, good performance, and you're covering your overhead, it can really even out the cash flow. It's another customer base. It's a little bit different, but it's a different customer base. And it allows you, sometimes when the economy is moving in different directions, when the private sector is very good, a lot of people don't want to do government because it's a lot of paperwork. But when the economy turns down, sometimes this becomes a really viable alternative. I think because of COVID-19, a lot of businesses, that maybe had traditionally used the government and the government had traditionally used them as their go-to contractor, hopefully they'll all survive. But if some do not survive, this could be an opportunity for new businesses to open up a new marketplace into those federal, state, and local offices. What it cannot do for your business, it's not going to jumpstart your business. If you're just beginning or you're just kind of getting your feet on the ground, you might have to wait a little while. I would recommend waiting until you get more established. If you're having financial issues, it's not going to save you. It can actually further complicate the situation. And I would never recommend it be the sole source of your business unless you're into something that's really niche or really unique. But you want to really have a diversified base so that you can respond to the different economic conditions that are always in an ebb and flow. So the pros and cons of government contracting. So some of the pros: the government is a reliable customer. They will pay their bills slowly, but they will pay. They're not going away. The government's always going to be around. Once you establish yourself, you get that contract, you have good performance, there can be lots of opportunities for continued. The government will probably need what you're selling for a very long time, and they tend to return to who and what they know. Just like, all humans, we want to go with what we know and what's comfortable. And if you get the contract and you do good performance, the chances of, then you're going to increase your past performance positively, and it's going to increase the opportunity that they want to come back to you. The government is huge, and that's something that you're going to learn, in that there are lots of places to sell to the government, not only just at the different thresholds, federal, state, and local, but even within the federal arena, there's many different agencies. One of the most positive things about being in Colorado is the second largest federal city outside of Washington, D.C. So the majority of federal agencies have redundant systems that are built in here. So if there's if something fails or the networks go down in Washington, D.C., a lot of the systems have fallback offices back out here in Denver. So it's a great opportunity or great location to try to win and get into government contracting in the state of Colorado. Also a very large DoD influence here. The federal government's very transparent in what they do, so you can gain a lot of information even before you start marketing. So as you start to think about, this is what I do and this is what I want to sell, you'll be able to garner a lot of information to kind of help you to prepare your capability documents, to to figure out your website, who you're marketing to, what you want to say, and how you want to say it to those specific agencies. And each one has its own culture. The culture in DoD is very different than the culture in the Department of Interior, where I worked, which is very different from the culture at EPA. Or so, kind of understanding that can really be helpful. So this really gives you a picture of the government in Colorado. So 55 federal agencies, lots of DoD bases. There's all kinds of buying activities throughout the state. People just think sometimes just on the Front Range, but we actually, you'll find out in the eastern part, you'll find some the farm agencies out in the, as you go farther west, you'll find National Park Service, a lot of land management organizations, the Forest Service, you'll be FAA, everybody, everybody has an impact or an influence here. At state government, 64 counties, special districts, schools, universities, colleges, you'll find there's a lot of different, and everybody buys basically everything. You know, you'd be amazed. Some people come to see me and I have something very unique to buy, but the reality is you will find somebody who's actually buying what you're selling. I think I haven't found anybody that I've been really stumped by yet. Some of the cons of doing business with the government is that you have to just be ready and prepared for, is that it's very large and there is a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of different rules. The relationship, you know, when you have a commercial contract and you walk in and you want to enter market to somebody, you know, you're assumed to have authority and they're assumed to have authority. But in the government, there's no implicit authority, it's only explicit authority. So you really have to understand the kind of the rules of the game and what you're doing. The government has different rights and obligations than commercial contracts. They call it the sovereign right of kings. So they have certain clauses that you will not find in a commercial contract. You only find it in a government contract. And you have to really be aware of those and know those so you can protect yourself. The government pays, but slowly. So, you know, it's usually 30 days in arrears. So if you're used to, I know some of my clients, you know, and their commercial clients, they say 50% down, 50% when completed. And that doesn't work in the government. The government always pays in arrears. So you have to be prepared for that. And sometimes you have to take out a short-term loan just to factor that. And that sometimes can affect your costs. They have an expectation that you can fund the contract while you're working. They call that part of responsibility, that you have the financial responsibility to perform that work before the, you know, that you can fund it and while you're performing, that you're not looking for the money up front or in advance. And they have an expectation that if you're going to do this, that you do understand those clauses and what they mean to you. And that's why we're, I think, a great partner with you to really try to help you understand what those clauses mean. And certain clauses and laws push some costs up. So if you're into construction, there's Davis-Bacon wage determination rates, which establish minimum wages for people in the construction industry. And then the Service Contract Act for those who do service type contracts. And so that can sometimes be a little higher or a little different than what you're used to paying. Usually has requirements for fringe benefits and things like that. So if you aren't used to doing that, you have to kind of understand those rates, how you apply them, how you keep track of them, and how you report them before you get paid. We're going to kind of jump into some of these specific 4 steps now, but before I do that, do you have any, is there any questions so far that you wanted to ask? Okay, all right. So the 4 essential steps that we talked about was register, research. Oops, do I have a question? I'm not sure. Register, research, respond, and retain. And so we'll kind of jump a little bit deeper into each of those steps. So the right registrations, first, you know, you do have to be a business in Colorado in order, so with get registered with the Secretary of State for Colorado. But we do ask you to register with coloradoptac.org. We have on our website a link to new users or existing users. And that just allows us, because as a part of our grant, we want to make sure that we report on the clients that we're helping and the goals that we're achieving. And it also allows us to learn a little bit more about your company and what we need, what kind of support you need. At the federal government, you have to get a Dun & Bradstreet number. We give you a link to where you can get it for free. If you call them direct, they try to charge you, but we have a link to get you to the free one. And you have to register in SAM, the System for Award Management, in order to start the process at the federal level. At the federal level, they also have different programs for different types of businesses that we've been talking about: women-owned, WOSB, HubZone, where there's high unemployment, SDVOSB, which is Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business. So if you're a veteran, there's programs for that. And the 8A program, which is a direct award program for companies that are socially and economically disadvantaged. It's a 9-year program where once you're incorporated into that program, you become eligible for direct awards from a federal agency. but just being in the program doesn't guarantee you those awards. There's still a lot of work and marketing in order to reach out to those agencies and figure out, who's buying it and if they would be interested in going with a direct 8A award. The federal business opportunities is actually, that's changed to Beta SAM, where all the solicitations are actually posted for the federal arena. And for that's kind of the federal registration piece. For the state and local, the Colorado Vendor Self-Service is where the most of the state solicitations are posted, and the Rocky Mountain e-purchasing system. We usually tell people to never pay for any subscriptions. The only one we do recommend is the Rocky Mountain e-purchasing, where that was where you'll get access to the state solicitations. For the set-aside programs at the state level, there are only 3 locations: CDOSH, the City and County of Denver, and RTD. And we can work with you on getting those certifications as either a DBE, which is a disadvantaged business, or a WBE, a women business enterprise. So there are special programs at the state level at those 3 locations. We also provide a bid match when clients are ready. It's a software that we pay for the subscription for you, and it goes through the process and looks for solicitations in your business model and helps identify those and send those to your inbox every day so that you can be sure that you're getting the information regarding the upcoming solicitations. So this is a screenshot of SAM and what it looks like. And this is at the federal arena, just that beginning stage on how to get started. They have a login here. You can create an account. It has, of course, 2-factor authentication like everybody. So it's kind of like a little bit of pain now. But you can log in, and then it takes some time. We have a new client guides that we provide to all of our clients that really walk you step by step on how to become registered in SAM. And I always say, fill out everything on the booklet, and then once you're done, then go in and start doing the actual SAM information, because you don't want to have to stop and run and get your banking information or your DUNS number. Just have all that stuff ready to go, and it runs a little bit faster. So why register people? And for some businesses, if you're just in the micro business threshold, the under $10,000, you may not need to register. Some people, they're selling, I've had clients and they sell maybe awards or, small office supplies. You don't need to be registered. But if you are thinking of some bigger contracts, it's important to do that so the government knows you're here. They know that you're out there. There's no yellow pages anymore. So government's always looking for who are those small businesses, who's out there that can perform this. And remember that they have a priority to try to award to small businesses as much as possible. Once you're done once, you don't have to keep doing it again in SAM. You do have to renew your registration every year and say, yes, I'm still in business. Yes, I'm still interested. And yes, my data has remained the same. And what's nice about it is once you do it for one federal agency, let's say you want to do business with a military base, but once you're registered in SAM, you can do business with any federal agency. It's that SAM registration, everybody uses it. So it's a great resource to have. It helps the government with their small business goals. All of these different programs, they're looking for those small businesses. They're looking for those women-owned. They want to find them. And it also helps large businesses. So when large businesses, large construction firms, when they win very large contracts, as a result of that contract and as a result of them being a large business, they must also develop what's called a subcontracting plan. And that subcontracting plan says for the portion of the work that they're not going to do themselves, how are they going to identify small, women-owned, hub-zone, minority firms that can help them execute that contract. And so they will use SAM and the Dynamic Small Business Search to find you as well. So that helps them achieve their goals. They have goals to achieve. Step 2 is the research step. So after you get all the registrations in place, and it could take you anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months to get all those registrations in place, because there are some paperwork required, and depending on the number and type of registrations, it can take many months for some of them. But now you're in, if you're just a small business and that's all you want, you can just be registered in SAM probably in a week. And now is the time to do that, because at the federal arena, their fiscal year ends on September 30th. And so the majority of the buying is actually happening now between May and September 30th. So if you aren't registered, now is a great time to register and start looking at those upcoming solicitations. The second step really with the research is know your market, who's buying what you're selling. Not every agency buys everything, but all the agencies do. As a group, they'll eventually buy everything. And I mean, I've bought veterinary services, I've bought furniture, historic furniture, I've bought wallpaper, carpets, construction, underground tank removal, professional services, archaeology, a tall ship, you name it, architect engineering services, anything you can think of, the government has bought it. So the best way to kind of do that research is 3 steps, is to look at the past, the present, and the future. So if you look at the past, the chances are if an agency has bought something in the past, it will buy it again in the future, because it's part of its core mission, it's part of what it does. So there's a database, the Federal Procurement Data System, and we work with you and show you how to use that data system to pull information out, and how to start creating a profile of, okay, who are the agencies that I'm going to want to start to market? Do I want to market just ones in Colorado, or do I want to market ones that are all over the country? And you can manipulate that data to suit yourself, to get the data you need and start to develop that picture of who you're reaching out to. For the federal business opportunities, they're advertised, that's the present, and that's the solicitations that are out there today, where people are looking for people to bid, and they are found on betasam.gov for the federal arena. At the Colorado level, you have the VSS and the Rocky Mountain e-purchasing. And the third, for the future, what you want to do is look at acquisition forecasts. Where are the projects that are going to be solicited maybe 1 year from now? So maybe you're not ready for this summer, or maybe you're still developing your capability and your website and your, and you're still doing your research. But you can also use the acquisition forecast websites to see what will they buy next year, and how can I position myself to let that firm know, that agency know that I'm out here as a firm, encourage them to perhaps set it aside as a small business, and be prepared to maybe respond to that solicitation when it comes out. On the research step, there's also different relationships depending on where your business is in its growth and development. You can be a prime contractor and compete for these contracts yourself, but there's also the option to be a subcontractor to a prime. One of the best ways to get your foot in the door, to get known without all of the overhead and the responsibility and learning the FAR and learning all the clauses, is to identify subcontracting opportunities where you can do a portion of the work, you build that past performance, you build that resume, but you don't own all of the liability with it. There's also teaming or joint ventures. So perhaps you can take a portion of the work and you have another friend that's another small women-owned business or a small hub zone business, and you can team and compete together for a solicitation or joint ventures. So there's lots of ways to get your foot in the door in the world of government procurement. It's just really doing that research and figuring out, who am I, where is my firm at, and what is the best strategy. And I always say it's probably a 3 to 5 year strategy. So what you do in the next year to two will change and evolve as you move forward. So you might start as a subcontractor, you might go to a teaming relationship with another small business, and then you might just end up competing on your own. This is a picture of FPDS, which is what the past looks like. So what you can see is when you search, you'll get all kinds of data. You'll get when you search on a topic, you'll get the top 10 federal agencies, departments that are working. So this is like Department of Defense, kind of like that's very, very big, or Department of the Interior. But then it starts breaking it down into, okay, let's go a little bit deeper. So it's the Army, it's the Forest Service, the National Geospatial. So it starts getting down to more of the specific contracting offices themselves. And then it tells you who are the top 10 vendors who in fact have won these awards, who are already successful. So if at this point in time, your major effort is to serve as a subcontractor, this is a great way to find out who are those primes, who is already holding those contracts, who could I reach out to for possible subcontracting opportunities. This is a picture of Beta Sam, the present, and this is showing you where I looked for janitorial services, and it's just telling me the solicitations that are out there now. And there's lots of different ways to configure that. If you want to look only in certain states or certain areas, you can sign in, and I encourage everybody to sign in and create a standing search for what it is that you may be interested in doing. And these are the forecasts. So we looked at FPDS for the past, Beta SAM for the present, and then this is the website for the procurement forecast where you can see what's coming down the pike. The third step is responding. So you've figured it out, you've done your research, you found a solicitation, and now you want to respond. So, you know, having a good marketing and capability document, you know, really understanding what are the differentiators between your company and somebody else, what makes you unique. As small businesses, you know, you are nimble, you're efficient, you don't have high overhead costs, you can respond to an agency much faster. And then, but really developing that capability document, and that will be reflected not only in a capability document, but also on your website, you know, and you'll include on your website that you are registered in SAM, that you do have a DUNS number and a cage code. Looking at looking at what the government is posting, understanding what is the difference between a sources sought, a request for information, the different types of solicitations, and then the different types of bids. So in order to respond, you really need to understand, is it an RFQ or an RFP? Is it going to be awarded based on low bid or best value? And one of the nice things as being a PTAC client is if you do respond to a request for a technical proposal, if you want, you can send that to us and we will review that proposal for you prior to you submitting it to the agency. And we'll give you feedback in order to help you strengthen your proposal and give you the best chance of award. The last R is that retain. So we really are there to help you through the contract performance. You know, we always recommend that you get a debriefing, whether you win the contract or not, so that you learn what it is that you did well and what it is that maybe you're challenged with. We also help you review the terms and conditions and the clauses. Some people will say this clause is in my contract, I'm not really sure what this means. You know, what are my obligations under this clause? We can help you with the statement of work or the performance work statement. So statement of work is a very detailed performance. You know, this is what we want you to do. This is how we want you to do it. On a performance work statement, it is more, these are the outcomes we want to achieve, and it's up to you as to how you want to achieve those outcomes. So there's usually a quality assurance plan. So helping you understand, what are you looking at? Are you looking at an SOW or a PWS, and how do you respond to that? And then making sure if there's any reporting that you do that appropriately, and then, you know, making sure that you invoice. If it's through DoD, there's the wide area workflow to submit your invoice. If it's the civilian agencies, it's usually IPP, the Internet Payment Platform. So this is our website here, and you'll see register, log in is right up here on the top. We also have an events calendar. So we do lots of free classes throughout the month. Either we do them ourselves, or we also have our subject matter experts come in and do things on like Davis-Bacon, or do something on FAR 101, or legal implications, or cybersecurity. We have a lot of different topic areas that we really work with you on. And now we've moved all of our training because of COVID-19. All of our training is now via Zoom online, and it's actually resulted in a lot more participation in our training, because I think we'll continue this even after that, because people can sign in, take the course, and then no travel time, log off, and they're ready to get back to work immediately. These are sponsors. These are many of our sponsors that help us, and many of them also do a lot of our free training for us as well. So this is the main number for our phone line, and this is our email. But my email is l.gunning, G-U-N-N-I-N-G, @ Colorado PTAC, PTAC.org. So if you are interested in becoming a PTAC client and signing up and just having a one-on-one session where we can really focus on you and your specific needs, just feel free to register. And you know, you can meet with any of our counselors. We're all equally qualified, and we can work with you on any of your business needs in the public arena.
Thanks, Lorna. That's great. Do we have any questions? Let me check the chat. Okay. No questions.
Excellent.
All right. You must have done an excellent job bringing all the information. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, great. All right. With that, let me go ahead and turn the recording off.